Hello and welcome. Today we're talking about one of the great film soundtrack labels. It's only 10 years old. They're celebrating their 10th anniversary this year, but that is MONDO and DEATH WALTZ records. Now, what's interesting about these guys is they're not just about the music. They're also about the artwork. They commission artists to do their own representation of the films and TV series that are being featured on the records, and they also go for colored vinyl, some really extraordinary colored vinyl. Now, a quick word as to the sound quality of these records. They are all remastered, beautifully remastered from original sources, most of them or many of them analog sources, but these are definitely digital remasters. If they were otherwise, they would be telling us. The pressing quality varies. I have not found these to be dead silent vinyl. You have to live with some ticks and pops even after a thorough cleaning. But like I say, the mastering, even though it's from digital, is excellent. And the sound quality on these is great. You just have to live with some ticks and pops. Having said all that, let's launch into a selection from their extensive catalogue, which mainly includes, not surprisingly, genre movies, although there are some one or two more mainstream films, but it's genre, it's horror, science fiction, which of course lends itself to beautiful artwork. Let's start off with one of the most influential film scores of modern times, from a film that was made, some 40 years ago, and that is John Carpenter's Halloween. And just take a look at this. You can just see on the front cover Michael Myers, the shape, an outline of his face, ominously brooding there behind, I think, yes, a sort of rain effect. Here is the back cover, where he is standing outside your window, ready to give you nightmares. And the inside cover, this wonderful painting coming into the town with something in the distance about to make us feel very unsafe. Get that. The vinyl itself comes very different editions of this, and it's originally a mono score, and they retain the mono, which is really nice. But here's a very typical colored vinyl effect. And all these records come with an obi strip, which is really nice for collectors, but it's hard to store without getting damaged. That's the one challenge with these. But anyway, that's Halloween. Halloween, a very influential score. John Carpenter realized it all on synthesizers of the time, which were mostly analog. I think at that time digital hadn't really come in at all. The Yamaha DX7 was just on the horizon though. But these scores are very influential, and we've seen a resurgence in recent years of the all analog synthesizer score, a prime example being Stranger Things. Moving on, this is one of my favorite issues from the Mondo catalog, and that is James Horner's score for Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. And look at this beautiful artwork. Here we go. And look at that. That's a beautiful painting of the Enterprise being chased. I think this is going into the nebula. This is so much fun. And then it comes with a beautiful insert. There's the Genesis cave and extensive notes about the score. This was the score that really broke James Horner into the mainstream, this and his score for Aliens. It's a great score, beautiful orchestration, very imaginative use of the orchestra. Here's the vinyl, inspired clearly by the sequence where they go into the nebula to try and escape Khan. And that's one of the records. And here's the second record. Just beautiful. To find this, it will probably cost you a little bit of money. And I apologize at this point. Many of these records I'm showing are limited editions, And if you're inspired to get them, you're going to pay a certain amount on the used market. These editions are highly prized. If you're interested in picking up some of their newer releases, yeah, you should subscribe to them and buy these as they come out. They sell out very quickly. Speaking of aliens, here is the Mondo version of James Horner's score for Aliens. This is a beautiful edition. Look at that artwork. There's the back. Score fully restored, remastered from the original elements. Here's the fold out in the middle. And it sounds great. The vinyl, again, has this very cool effect. Isn't that beautiful? These records are like artworks, and you almost want to frame them and put them on your wall. They're quite beautiful. That edition of Aliens is the non-pareil, a terrific listen. Speaking of classic science fiction, this is a score which was very unusual at the time. It was considered experimental, very influential, and that is Jerry Goldsmith's score for Planet of the Apes. This edition is mastered on 45 RPM records. It sounds phenomenal, leaps out of the speakers. See this very cool artwork depicting the actual Planet of the Apes. And then when you open up the centerfold, yeah, that's the little doll that they find. This is just a classic score. I can't imagine a better presentation of it. And you've also got the obi strip and an insert. These editions are just like works of art. Some of these editions, they have different colored vinyl, and depending on how limited the run was, or how attractive the splatter colored vinyl effect is, some are more expensive than others. Speaking of classic movies, Jaws. This is again a beautiful 2LP edition cut at 45. John Williams' score never sounded better. Look at this artwork. There they are, marooned in their boat. We're going to need a bigger boat. Look at that artwork from the opening sequence. Just spectacular. You have the obi, and then you have the vinyl itself. Here we go. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, a classic score. It is the score that really put John Williams on the map in terms of a new generation. That, and obviously Star Wars and Close Encounters. I mean, what a triptych of scores to come out. Here's a real favorite of mine, and it's somewhat off the beaten path. Dracula A.D. 1972. So this was part of the run of Dracula films done by Hammer Studios in England. And this was an attempt to bring Dracula into contemporary times. It's such a hokey film, but it's too much fun. You can see this is a more straightforward representation. It's not such conceptual artwork as the releases I've shown so far. And then lots of notes and this great picture of Christopher Lee with his various victims. This is a very cool score by Mike Vickers, and it updates the sound. We've got funkiness, we've got percussion, drumming, very much a 70s vibe. But I love this. This is a really fun genre score. Here is the obi strip, and then when it comes to the vinyl, we've got something a little bit psychedelic. How much fun is that? here's something for the real film score buffs, something fairly rare, but has been written about extensively, and that is the original score to 2001 by Alex North. And you're getting a reflection of my camera and the rest of the room. This is beautifully packaged. It's in this clear sleeve which fits over the record, and then you have the record itself completely black, of course in honor of the monolith, and then you have this stunning representation on the inside of going into the Stargate at the end of the movie. Kubrick originally commissioned a score from Alex North, who was a leading Hollywood film composer of the time, famous for Spartacus, A Streetcar Named Desire, and he started composing the music. Kubrick was using some temp tracks of classical music, and when he heard what Alex North had composed, he didn't think it matched what he wanted, which he'd gotten so used to the temp tracks, but actually Kubrick was absolutely right. The temp tracks was the way to go, and that's how you ended up with the score derived from Also sprach Zarathustra by Richard Strauss at the beginning. You had music by Ligeti for the appearances of the monolith. You had some music by Khachaturian from Guyane, and of course the famous Johann Strauss waltz, A Blue Danube. When you listen to the Alex North score, he wrote about half of it. The problem with it is it sounds too much like a regular Hollywood score. Even though it's very well done, it doesn't fit the concept that Kubrick had for the film. And this is one of those rare occasions when, using pre-existing music, it brought the correct dimension to the soundtrack of the movie, both aesthetically and actually philosophically. In later movies, Kubrick continued to do this, and I think his movies suffered somewhat. For example, in The Shining, the overuse of Bartok's music in particular, it's okay, it's fine, but I would have been very interested to see what, for example, a Jerry Goldsmith would have done with that. Anyway, this set is the original recording of the soundtrack. Now, there is on CD a re-recording of the complete Alex North score. This is only some of it. And I highly recommend that for anyone who wants to explore 2001, the original score, further. As a follow-up to issuing that particular record of Alex North's original recordings of certain fragments of his score, Mondo a few years ago put out the Kubrick score. And this is a beautiful edition. I don't know if you can see this, but this is actually a cutout here. And we have the back, obviously the monolith, and then the fold out in the middle. What a beautiful edition that is. And the cutouts at the front and the back, when you pull out the record and the insert, you see there you have the insert and then the record itself with this very subtle splatter effect. You can see that. This is a beautiful edition, also cut at 45, so the sound quality is excellent. You actually have some, one of the more interesting aspects of this is you have some extra Ligeti music, only fragments of which were used in the film, but here you have more of that piece performed by Pierre Boulez. So that's it for this quick sampling of a few gems from the Mondo Death Waltz catalogue. I will definitely do another video or two in the future featuring some more of these wonderful releases. Incidentally, up on the wall behind me, on bookcase, you can see this is the soundtrack to David Cronenberg's Crash by Howard Shore. Very interesting score, highly unusual. And then Jerry Goldsmith for Gremlins, a terrific score. Those are just up there to sort of whet your appetite for some more of these issues. Anyway, many thanks for watching. As always, very happy to get some likes if you want to subscribe to my channel, and see you next time. Happy listening.